Hi, I'm going to be doing a series of interviews, of which this is the first. Within the interviews, I will be discussing perspectives and support considerations for beings that are currently in their life experience in this world, that are living the principle of standing up. Such beings I refer to as real beings that are actually living the principle of standing up within assisting and supporting humanity to ask questions, and within asking questions for themselves, in observing this reality self-honestly, to wake up. Wake up from the perspective of not simply just accepting everything and everyone as it is, within the justification of, oh, it's always been this way, but to realize that each and every one of us play an integral part within how this world currently exists and how it's currently operating. One of those beings, of which these interviews are primarily focusing on, is Michael Tsarion. He is a real being because he has practically, physically investigated much of how this world currently functions, how human beings are currently accepting and allowing this world to function, and the basic design of the world system. He has obtained quite extensive amounts of knowledge and information of what's going on, and within that, sharing it with human beings so that human beings can start seeing what it is that is really going on in this world, and to literally open your eyes and to start asking questions. And he is living that expression of who he is. Within that, we've watched some of his interviews, and within watching the interviews we found that there are some points that we're able to assist and support him with, to take into consideration, that will make his work much more effective from the perspective of actually reaching human beings in a practical, physical, self-support and self-assistance way that would bring about actual real change within this world. As with Michael, there's been many real beings that have walked upon this earth. However, we have investigated interdimensionally why it is that there has been many beings, real beings, that have actually stood up from the perspective of living the point of wanting to assist and support humanity to change within the realizations of what they've seen of what is going on in this world, what is being accepted and allowed to exist in this world. And we asked the question with regards to, but why could such beings exist and say and do what they did, and yet there has been no definitive change within humanity as a whole, within this world in its entirety? It's as though they've been simply wiped completely in all that they've done, in all that they've said, because whether they existed or not made no difference to how this world has continued to exist, to how humanity has continued to exist. It's as though they were simply here for a moment, and then everything of themselves, what they said, what they did, vanished. And humanity simply just continued as is. Because such beings actually speak real insights, real perspectives, real realizations that could actually change human beings from the perspective of having them ask questions and wake up from that perspective. But there's always something missing, and this is what we found within our investigations interdimensionally through time. We looked at all of such beings that have walked, such as Michael, for example, and why there hasn't been like a real penetrating force that perpetuate real self-questioning, meaning real realizations that within the question and the realization, the being within their whole nature actually change, and within that change affect and penetrate the world around them. And this is what we found. We found that the point that's always been missed is the human being themselves. And this is particularly one point that we found with regards to Michael's work. That what is missed is the human being themselves. And we found that with all real beings that have walked on earth, the human being is missed from the perspective that it is the human being in their entirety, the very who we are, that is the problem. Yeah, that has always been the problem. We must actually completely, entirely change everything about ourselves, because it is in our very way, mannerism and behavior of speaking, of living, of expressing, of acting, that we are perpetuating and creating ourselves and this world as we know it. A point I'd like to start with Michael Tsarion's work is his perspectives on ego. And what we have found with regards to the design manifestation of ego. And yeah, alright. We'll continue in the next interview. Thanks.